Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sheri.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to show number 109 of the Traveling Professors. Today, Sheri and I are back in Athens, and we're going to take you to two smaller museums. They're not very far from the Byzantine Museum, which is where we were last time. One of them is the Byzantine and Christian Museum, which is where we will be going first. And then just a little further away from it is the War Museum, which has some really excellent material in it as well. So we'll be looking at Byzantine art as well as war weapons, particularly for the ancient world. Returning to our trusty map of Athens, today we're going to be going to, as I said before, the Byzantine Museum and the War Museum. So from our hotel, it's just simply going back to where the Benaki is and going down about a block. So the Byzantine Museum is located here, and the War Museum is located a little further down the road, right about here. Easy walk. Now, the Byzantine Museum has also been known as the Byzantine and Christian Museum. It was founded in 1914 and houses over 25,000 rare collections of pictures, scriptures, frescoes, pottery, fabrics, manuscripts, and artifacts from the 3rd century AD to the late Middle Ages. It is one of the most important museums in the world for Byzantine art. And during the Olympics in 2004, they completely renovated it and reopened it to the public. So here is the entrance into the main complex, and then we go through the little entrance area, and you can see the main museum, but they have wings on different sides that have other objects in them as well. And then here you see the well on the property, and then we look back to see how we entered in. So there's a nice piece of property around it and in it so that you can get a little place to relax. When you go into the buildings, one of the things that you'll see is this old altar and the mosaics from the building it was found in. Here we have a Byzantine cross from Bulgaria from the 1600s. We have a tapestry of the Trial of Christ, colored engraving. It was done for the Patriarch in Constantinople in 1806. There's a view out of the window on the second floor, looking at the different buildings. Further along, we come to these clay fish-shaped hanging lamps with reliefs of Christograms with the apocalyptic letters Alpha and Omega. These are from the 5th century, 4th and 5th century AD. Here we have some standard lamps with the Christian emblems on the inside. And then we come to an area where they have various surviving pieces of churches. Nice display here. Here's some of the early crucifixes that were carried in the procession coming into the church. Here's some of the columns and parts of the floor from different locations. Again, magnificent mosaics. Now, this marble slab is a relief of the Nativity, and it traces another representation, probably of the flight to Egypt, that's in the upper part of this piece, and it's from Naxos, and this is late 4th and 5th century AD. This next slab is a relief cross. Now, this is from the pulpit of the Christian Parthenon from the 5th and 6th century AD. Now, one of the things that happens is, of course, most early Christians, they had their church in their homes, and then when it was made the official religion of the Roman Empire, then they took over some of the other buildings. The Parthenon was actually turned into a Christian church. And so sometimes what would happen is that you would have a piece of stone with a pagan emblem on one side. They would just flip the stone around and put a Christian emblem on it. Here's the way they converted the Parthenon, the entry area, so that's where the altar was placed, looking in that direction, because all the Byzantine Orthodox churches, the altars face towards Jerusalem. And then here's an example of what you would have seen. This is a piece of stone with Medusa on the back of it, but there's a cross on the other side, as you can see here. So don't destroy, just refocus it. Here we have a very old cross. A lot of these were salvaged from destroyed churches and other buildings from around Greece. Here are some vestments from the Coptic Christians in Egypt. Look at the incredible embroidery work, the front, the back, and this also comes with beautiful pair of shoes. And they have various rooms throughout the museum on different topics. This is one of them where they have sepulchres that were brought in, regular stone sepulchres, but in the inside of them, they were painted with Christian motifs. Now this is, and it's hard to take pictures of these, this is a manuscript parchment scroll of the Christobuli of the Emperor Andronicus I from 1301, donated to Christian Archaeological Society in 1903 by the bishop of the island of Gythera. It was issued from 1282 to 13 1528 to confirm certain privileges enjoyed by the metropolitan, or the bishop, Nicholas. The top of the document is a miniature showing the emperor giving the Christabuli to Christ. At the bottom is the signature of the emperor in red ink, which all imperial documents were signed, granting great privileges. So here's the view of the top of the Christabuli, and then here is the signature at the bottom. And we have another sepulcher. This one's a little different. It has the Christian symbols on the outside. Now this is a stone iconostasis with the Virgin and Christ on either side. This is from the 16th century. So there's the frontal view of it, and then there's the side view of the arches. Of course, there would have been a door there. It's an indication that this is a very small church. Now this is a double-sided polyptych with 6 leaves. The crucifixion and the prophets David and Solomon in the front, the Last Judgment, the First Ecumenical Synod, and the Hymn of Christ in Vespers depicted the Last Judgment, reproducing Michelangelo's work with the same title as in the Sistine Chapel. It was painted in the second half of the 1500s. Exquisite workmanship. And here we have a room full of frescoes and icons. This one I particularly enjoyed. This is an icon of the prophet Elijah and scenes from his life, painted by Theodore Palaiologos. It's in 1976. It was stolen from the church and was originally placed and cut into 9 pieces. It was eventually located and transported to the Byzantine Museum, where it went through conservation and has finally been put back together again. I love the chariot, the flaming chariot of fire. And then here's another set of vestments. Look at the incredible workmanship and detail. Now this is a bishop's vestments, because you see the metropolitan headgear off to the right hand side. And the square device is actually called a sword, and it is on the sides like a little purse. Here's a close-up of the detail, the embroidery. And then here's another one, silk with embroidery, and another one. And this one, so I'll show you a little detail, because directly above the mother and child, you'll see this twisted thing. That is a seraphim, the many-winged seraphim. Now this is an iconostasis from Asia Minor, and you see it's a little more detailed. It's also a little newer. It's the 1600s, late 1600s. And you see we have the doors on either side, and then you have Christ and Mary and the central door, and then more of the holy days of the church up above. And here we have fragments of a demolished church, probably destroyed in an earthquake. And then up on the upper floor, you can then look down and see the different objects there. It's just incredible to go through here. So if you are Orthodox or you're just interested in religious items, this is an excellent museum to come and visit. And just take your time. Now, Sheri and I had seen the Byzantine Museum on our own, but the military museum was something that I did on my own. Sheri's sometimes not that interested in the military stuff, and I'm a military political historian. In addition, I visited this after one of our half-day sorties out in the countryside. After we had gone to the city of Corinth and came back, there was some extra time, not a lot, but enough for me to run down here and take some pictures. I think this opened and this closed around 5 o'clock, and I got there about 3:30. So I spent most of the time on the ancient section and then worked my way down. Now the building that you see here, 3 stories tall, covers Greek history from Alexander the Great to modern times, and it's actually staffed by Greek military students and members of the armed forces. So you go through all these different levels, and the World War II, World War I section, Nazi occupation in World War II, and all sorts of other stuff is really well portrayed. And of course they have some of the jets, as you can see, on the exterior. Now again, I came here hoping to see a whole lot of material on the ancient world, and most of this was replicas of our artifacts that they had in other museums, which was a little disappointing, but incredible representation. So here we have the Stone Age period, and look at the axes. And here we have a wooden club with the spikes on it, just to kind of get started. And then this one, this bone weapon, talk about painful and incredible. And then we have a display of various obsidian blades and other artifacts. Here's what they would have some of the very earliest stone tools in Greece and the islands. And then here's a mock-up of one of the standard merchant ships that you would have found plying the seas from the Mycenaean period on. And here's a nice display of Mycenaean weaponry, double-headed axe, the ivory tusk. That's by the way, the ivory is from boars, so that's a boar's tusk helmet. Here's a display again with a shield, an axe. And they had these wonderful 3D views of some of the famous battles. This is, of course, the Battle of Marathon. And if you're a marathon runner, they recreate the run from this battlefield to Athens on the anniversary. Here's their topographical map showing the Battle of Salamis. And this is really nice because you don't usually see a lot on this. This is the Battle of Plataea, and you have the Greeks on the south side here and the Persians up in the northern area. Of course, we've got to have a nice model of the triremes, the early warships. Then this is the real trireme. Now they have a replica, a sailing replica at the Naval Museum. So if you're ever in Athens, go down and see it. These are nice. The slingmen are used quite frequently in ancient history. And frequently they will throw advertising at you. Sometimes the weapons have the name of the general or the city-state, so that if you get hit with it, they want to let you know that this is who's fighting you. This is a model of a weapon used by Demetrius the city slayer. Demetrius was the son of Antigonus the One-Eyed, Antigonus Monothelmus, in the wars of Alexander's successors. And he had this device which held multiple weapons that you could pull these up and obviously drop the drawbridge down, but they could also fire ballistas and all sorts of weaponry at you. And this is the other side of it. So they were quite extensive and they were quite expensive. As a matter of fact, when he attacked the city of Rhodes, he got all of his equipment in position. And then his father ordered the army back to Greece. And he had to abandon it all. The Rhodians sold it, and that's how they built the Colossus of Rhodes. It's one of the battering rams that Demetrius used. And here's a replica of a Macedonian shield that you would have found in Alexander's army. This one is shield, and it has the Byzantine Christian emblem on the cover of it. I actually have a replica Varangian Guard helmet, and it has that on the helmet as well. And it's part of a gigantic display of Byzantine weaponry of the Varangian Guard. So you see the very large axe up here. And remember, the Varangian Guard are mercenaries from the Vikings, and so they're very large and powerful, so their weaponry is going to match that as well. Look at the spear and the maces and double-headed axes. And they also had a replica of a portable Greek fire launcher. This would be anywhere from 700 to 1200 AD. So you could have this, and then you could pump it out. Another view of it had spikes on it, so if you needed to spear somebody with it, you could. Of course, on their main ships, they would have these that they could just pump the stuff out on enemy ships. Then going down to the lower levels, here's the Middle Ages period, the Ottoman period. They have weaponry and armor. And then you get to World War I and World War II. They have all the various uniforms of the Greek military services. And then they had this gigantic model of a defensive system built in northern Greece to protect them from being attacked in World War I. And was used again in World War II, although not successfully, because if you remember, Mussolini got bogged down in Greece, but Hitler sent in these paratroopers. But they have this beautiful cutaway view of what it was like on the inside. It's a very nice display. I just didn't have enough time. Need to go back and do that again. Sheri and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.